Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chandrasekhar Prasad. I work with Mahindra First Choice as Chief Data Officer. I'll ask everyone to give the introduction about themselves so that you know who you are listening to and what kind of experience they have. And it's not like just post-lunch trauma, which typically happens after lunch. I have worked with different industries like gaming, used car. So currently Mahindra First Choice, which is used vehicle in used vehicle industry. Before that, Car Dekho, that was primarily in used car business. And there were Insurance Dekho, College Dekho, blah, blah, blah. Before that, MobiQuick, that's a fintech company. Then before that, Zynga, it's a gaming company. Telenor, Vodafone, many other companies in pharma industry. I have worked in primarily data analytics, machine learning, AI, data engineering, analytics, and B2B product development like chatbot and CDP, customer data platform development. So these are the things I have worked in. Others?
Hi, I am Adarsh. Presently, I am Chief Data Scientist at Octro. Octro is one of the biggest gaming companies in India. If you look at top 10 grossing apps on Android, you will find Teen Patti by Octro almost like since last 10 years. Before that, I was co-founder and CEO of a company called Third Watch AI. It was into e-commerce fraud prevention using ML. It was acquired by Razorpay in 2019. Personally, I like to travel. I am a Vipassana meditator, and I am passionate about the potential AI can have on humanity. So I am a voracious reader in general and on AI.
Hi, my name is Saurabh. I'm the group CIO with Saru. In the past, I was CIO for Kent Saru System Services for 6 years. I'm a graduate from IT Delhi, and I usually like to sleep when I have time. I'm not so much into Vipassana and all like my friend is.
Great. So in this session, we will try to learn from our experiences. Even if you have your own, please chip in. Even in the end, that works. But we would like to learn from our experiences, what we have done in terms of improving customer experience. And this customer experience might have different definitions for different people. But what we have done in our experience, we will share that. And what are the pieces of those experience which can be improved by data? What different data points we capture, we will touch upon that. Then we will also talk about how we measure that. What are the things we measure? How we measure? How we do experimentation? What are how we measure those KPIs or whatever measure of interest, things we are interested in, could be revenue, DAU, whatever. And then possibly we will sum it up with whatever overall people come up with. So first thing is, I'll start with what is customer experience. So of course we'll have our own definitions. I have worked in different industries. My orientation might be different. He has worked in different kind of industries, maybe internal customers or maybe external customers. Typically when we work in industrial setup, we have two kinds of customer, internal and external. So these people might have their own definitions of customer experience. So I'll start with Adarsh.
Hi, so in my view, user experience has like 4 parts. Say user interface, the art or design of it, the product, like different aspects of the product, like in gaming, if we have different modes, and their placement. So which are the modes and how are you placing, which are you placing first, which are you placing second, which are you placing next. So these 4 dimensions from gaming perspective form the user experience.
So I think so for me, any customer experience, user experience relates to the product. Any communication you do at any of the touch point, it can be on email, it can be chatbot, it can be phone. The overall experience, pre-sales, post-sales, before a person purchases a product or a service, and how do you actually deliver the product and the service, that everything that comprises that, wherever there are touch points with the customer, that is what I call a customer experience. The experience that he gets from you as a brand. So SAR Group, for example, we are 14 group companies. Each of these companies serve different customers. Some of them are B2B customers, some are digital, some have digital presence, some are B2C, D2C brands. So the customers may vary, the type of delivery may vary. It may be a digital delivery, it may be a water purifier in LivePure, for example. It can be an inverter in LiveFast, it can be battery in LiveGuard, or an electric vehicle in electrics. But I think every touch point that you do, that translates into the experience that you are delivering to a customer.
Great. So next question I have is, what are the things, what are components which can be impacted by the data we capture? I mean, we have talked about products. It could be about services. It could be about touch points. But if you talk about, what are different ways? What are the different heads? For example, product design, or product options, or maybe recommendation engine, or maybe personalization. In your experience, what are the different things which can be treated as dimension to user experience?
So, like product placement, for example, I'll give you an insight from a very famous company, TikTok, right? So in TikTok, you see videos and then they have to suggest what is the next video which should come. Right? So when TikTok implemented its recommendation engine, like which video should be coming next after you have seen the first video, they're day 60. Day 60 means a customer, if 100 customers come on day 1, how many customers still come on day 60? It is a very big metric in B2C consumer products. So they improved their day 60 from 8% to 25%. So you can understand how big a impact a simple, I will not call it simple because it is the key to any successful consumer products. In gaming, data is at the core of any gaming product. So when you play a game, you see just the user interface, but there is a lot of technology which goes behind it, like the game, the meta games. And for example, in gaming, you are playing a multiplayer game. There may be fraud happening, and fraud is two kinds, right? So one kind is two people colluding to cheat the other two people. Now, if you come online and you get cheated, your experience is spoiled. The whole purpose of gaming is to deliver happiness, to make you happy. You play a game, you are stressed, you are now calm, right? Now, if the user complains and then you do a manual survey and you take 3 days to come back, it may have already done the damage, right? Second experience is like promo fraud. So you give some bonus to daily bonus or weekly bonus or monthly bonus, and people create multiple profiles and collate that in one account and then withdraw, right? Now the indirect impact is you will stop giving bonuses. So at Octro, we have advanced ML deployed wherein the user doesn't have to complain. We analyze each and every game, and if there is a fraud, we cancel the game, block users who have done the fraud and refund the money. For promo fraud, we have concept of yellow money and green money. So any promo money, when somebody is withdrawing, we see what is the proportion of green money versus yellow money, and we immediately know if there is a fraud. So we are able to give promo money because we are able to identify the bad apples. So we are not sort of deploying punitive measures on all the users. So I mean, to give you another example from like articles like PUBG, if somebody want to say something? Okay. So in case of PUBG, like the player is playing a game and there are 100 possibilities of screen coming in the next instance. If you load all the 100 possibilities, it is not feasible in the hardware like currently. And if you, once you have played the action, you then decide on what is the next screen, then you will get a very jittery experience. Now the experience you get is because AI ML predicts what are the next 4 screens possible, and they're very accurate. So 99.99% you get the next screens. So, yeah.
Would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. So I think when you talk about user experience, customer experience, in my opinion, most of it is data-driven. It can be product, it can be the kind of delivery that you do, product design, your plans, let's say even in your case, the kind of plans you will charge from your customer, what kind of plans they are selecting, what kind of, so SAR Group, I'll give you a brief about SAR Group so that you understand what we do. So SAR Group comprises of multiple companies. LiveGuard is one of our flagship companies, we sell batteries there. LivePure is one of our companies where we are into more into consumer durable, water purifiers, etc. Then we have electric vehicle. These companies use extensive data for different kind of outcomes. The outcome can be, for example, LiveGuard may use the data to design a product, an inverter for customers, based on how much electricity is available in a particular area. So we'll have specific products which are targeted to optimize the cost and delivery. LivePure, for example, may use the data of what kind of AMC people buy and what is the kind of likelihood, when will they buy it, and based on that we start discounting the product. So to entice the customer. So data, I think most of it is data driven. The only the downside of using data is most of the time we don't look at the anomalies in the data. So for example, I'll give you so recently we were doing an A/B test in LivePure business for our website to increase the time on site. Now what happened when we looked at the data? We looked at certain anomalies and figured out a particular experiment was working for us better. And the anomaly was that certain users were spending started spending too much time on the website while others were spending less. So when you look at data, everything has to be data driven, but you can't do it in isolation. It has to be in coordination, in conjunction with what are the kind of balances, checks, segmentation you have put in your data. So data is, I mean everything has to be data driven when you look at user experience, customer experience, when people are calling, what kind of problems they are facing, what is your HT on your call center, how much chat you are doing. But you have to use the data smartly. You can't just use the data, start getting into an Excel sheet and come up with certain answers. That usually don't work.
Great. So have you used a recommendation engine in your organization or in your past companies? And have you figured it out that somebody else built a recommendation engine before you joined? How did you improve that? Because first engine somebody built, he has done some toiling, he has put in efforts, time, built recommendation engine, people were using it, it was giving some good result or maybe great result at that point in time. Now you have joined, you are trying to improve the recommendation engine. Have you worked on such kind of situations?
So at Octro, we are a gaming company and we have social games and real money games. So in social games, the income is primarily from in-app purchases, right? And in-app purchases, the user can purchase different SKUs. The user can purchase $1, $3, $5, $10, $15. Now, what SKU should be shown to which user and in which order they should be shown, right? So very basic sort of recommendation or personalization can be, you show different SKUs to iOS and Android users. Now that was the place where we started from, of course, and then we did micro-clustering. And micro-clustering on different aspects, right? Like how much time you are spending in a game, which geography you are from, which modes do you play more, which SKUs do you purchase previously, right? And when we do micro-segmentation and micro-clustering, and then different SKUs are shown to different micro-clusters, and that lead to an improvement of around 20% in the sales. And we are on the journey of like individual users. So we are trying to see if we can use reinforcement learning and reach and have a like customized SKU recommendations for each user. So different SKUs, so thousands of SKUs, and their ordering, all decided by machine learning. So that is still in process, but even from micro clustering, we see a huge jump in the revenue.
So we use recommendation engine in 2 of our business. One is Lipure. So if you go to Lipure website, we suggest what are the likelihood product that you can bundle with your product which is there in the cart. I think the problem that we faced when I joined was that whenever we used to add a new product, because it did not have any review data or purchase data, it never used to show up for any recommendation for us. So let's say there is a product X which you have put in the cart, and now I have a new product, product A. Let's say we start selling AC for that matter, or we start selling comforter for that matter. We want to bundle it. But because our system didn't have any data for which product this comforter can be sold with, it will never show up. So we had to do a lot of tweaking that we start suggesting those products for which we do not have any data. So that we did. I think it works good now. The other recommendation that we use is in our water as a system. So we also sell water purifier as a service, so you can buy it from the website and you don't have to pay upfront cost for water purifiers. So there we use it in 2 different ways. One is we suggest the payment method based on certain algorithms that this guy is likelihood to pay with UPI, non-UPI, etc. Because we pay lesser charge for UPI, accordingly we have to adjust the right order for payments. That we do. So we don't end up paying for a lot more charges on the credit card. The second one that we do is in VAS business is for the leads that comes in, we rate them. We rate each other lead, let's say for example 0 to 100, and our agents use those recommendations to put more time on the guys where we feel that there is a highly likelihood of selling the product. So these are the 3 examples that we have.
Great. I mean, these were great examples by Adarsh and Saurabh. Next thing I would like to touch upon is personalization. Even though recommendation engine and personalization go hand in hand, typically you will hear these words together, but there is a slight difference. And I would like to learn from experiences of Saurabh and Adarsh, what they have done in terms of personalization, what kind of methodology they have applied, what are the different observations they had, what kind of different challenges they had. So anything you would like to share in nutshell?
Right. So in gaming, the main game and the meta game go hand in hand. So like the meta game is as important as the main game. So when I say meta game, so suppose you are playing poker and you're waiting for your turn to come, then in the meantime you will play slots, for example, right? Or you have missions. So the whole aim is to have dopamine released in the user's head, right? So make him happy, him, her happy. Now, which missions should be shown to which user should be shown which level, right? So there are different levels, say 1, 2, 35, and by default there's a level selection. So which level should be shown to which user, like personalize the default level for each user, and then which mission should be allocated to each user. So I think we have done a lot of work, and it is an ongoing sort of process, but we have seen very good results in these 2 aspects. We have already covered on SKUs, so I'll not repeat that.
Yeah, so I think again I'll take the example of VAS business, water as a service that we do. So there we use personalization like even plants. So let's say we know how much water a particular guy consumes because these devices are connected on IoT, sends the data at every liter consumption to our cloud. We precisely know that Saurabh consumes, let's say, 200 liters of water a month. We are able to build those customized plans and give it to customers. We can also switch on some of these plans to holiday plan, for example. So let's say some people are moving out. So rather than getting those machines disconnected from us, we usually suggest them that you are not using water purifier for this file, don't get it disconnected, please switch to this. So I think that planning thing is working well for us, is highly personalized for each of the customers, and that is adding revenue for us in water as a service business.
Great. One of the dimensions is friction reduction. Whatever we are using as a customer, be it a product or be it a service, you will have times when you are struggling, or maybe somebody else is trying to game the system. It could be game itself or others, but for us, end users, there could be some product not working well, or maybe something, for example, you had this story that even Apple is rigging the system behind the scene. And they were trying to force users to buy new iPhones. So they were playing with old iPhones, so that became laggy, and people were forced to buy new iPhones. So one is inherent, which is designed in the labs of Apple, and there could be actual frictions you are having or we are having. Now, my question is, have you ever encountered those situations of frictions or maybe frauds, whatever, Think in terms of users. It could be frauds or it could be any other, not so unwanted experiences. How you have worked upon and how you try to reduce, or maybe how did you measure in first place, and then how you devised or maybe somebody else devised a strategy. If you could share something, that would be great.
So I'll give you an example from a real money game. Like we have an offering called Play Rummy, which is a real money game. So people deposit actual cash and they play with it, and then they can win and withdraw actual cash. So previously when they put a withdrawal request, it used to take 24 hours because there was a team which used to vet that is the user fraud, has he committed some fraud, is there some cheating going on? And it was a very manual process. Then we automated a lot of fraud prevention measures, and when every game is analyzed, we reduce the customer complaints by 90%. So people can flag that this game cheating has happened, right? Now we know that which customers are problematic customers, which game are suspicious, so we automated a lot of it, and now 90% of the withdrawals are like automatic. It happens almost instantly. So I think that is one use case of reducing friction between users. I think if you show the right SKU, the right game mode, the right level, all those are aspects which reduce the friction for a user, but yeah.
So unlike Adarsh, I think most of our products are physical products. So we sell water purifiers, batteries, etc. And we get plenty of complaints on the phone, in the chat, in the emails. In Liptor itself, I think we are now around 1.5 million customers. So there are a lot of complaints which comes on the phone, which is not textual complaints. So our call centers are, so what we do is we move these audio data into text. So there is an AI system which is sitting in and convert these conversations to text. And once these conversations are converted into text, then there is a sentiment analysis which happens, and then we try to bucket them. So let's say the problem can be related to delivery of a product, the problem can be related to the quality of the product, the problem can be related to the pre-sales, post-sales, etc. And then once this bucketing happens, we try to prioritize what are the priorities for us, and then then the relevant team starts working on them. So for example, let us say there are 10 product PQR report, I don't know, product quality report is what it is called. So let's say there are 10 problems which have come in your PQR report, that there are problems related to quality, and then you start working them one by one and you start reducing them. So one of the KPIs for the maintenance folks or the service folks are not just the complaints are addressed within a stipulated time, but the percentage of complaint with respect to the total customer base has to reduce. And that's how we try to reduce the friction at different points.
Great. One of the things which we don't prioritize as a tool is customer communication. For example, in my experience, when I was working with a fintech and we were giving loans to customers, there were people who were trying to get a loan for last 6 months, and somehow they were getting rejected. So they used to give us actual abusive words wherein their communication. They used to say, I am trying for last 6 months, and you, XYZ, whatever abusive words you can punch in your mind. And then you are giving loans to everyone, and you are not giving me. This is again XYZ, punch in so many abusive words, and then I'll see you, and then I'll drag you to court, whatever, Now this is actual case. Even if you are doing business genuinely, it's not getting clearly to the end users. So as a customer, have you ever encountered such a situation where, whatever products or services you are offering, how you prioritize customer communication? I know, could be anything, could be methodology or whatever, but have you ever encountered such a situation where you need to work on customer communication, or maybe analyze customer feedback, or maybe something like this to improve experience?
So in gaming, CRM is a very important part. So you have to have the mind space of the user, and suppose a user comes every day and you have not seen him for 2 days, you want the user back, right? Now how do you reach the user? You reach via communication, say via push notification. Now very important aspect of the push notification, the time you send the push notification to. So one way is to segment the users by geography and just send the push notification based on the gut feeling of the product manager. What we have tried is, we have tried a reinforcement learning model where the model can learn the time, the optimum time at which the push notification should be sent to a user. And it's not easy to train reinforcement learning, but once trained, we see a 30% uplift in the open rate. Now we in the process of, can we write personalized communication to each user and send personalized communication, but we have already seen the uplift with just optimizing the time of communication.
So I think Kent, my peers organization had roughly around 4 million customers, 4 million water purifiers. SAR group may have end customer which will be somewhere around 15 to 16 millions, including battery, water purifiers, inverters, etc. Having a centralized tool which consolidate your customer communication and make it cohesive, I think that is one of the keys. So somebody may raise a query on email and wants to get a reply on chat. So your agent should be able to understand what is being asked and have a consistent communication. The language, I think it matters. So having a centralized tool which collects all the queries at a centralized place and able to quickly respond. Sometime automated response help. In your status updates, etc., automated response help. But I think human touch, when the things are escalated or not getting in time, always works much better.
So one dimension is measurement. So Adarsh has touched upon A/B testing. There are many things like feedback, surveys. Because time is running out, I would like to touch upon one thing which is like NPS. We have always struggled to measure NPS, and in all places. Sometimes we think that definition of NPS is restrictive because 9 and 10 is promoters. Why not 8, 9, 10? And why laggards are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is like detractors. Why not just 1, 2, 3, 4? We can have problems with definitions, but whatever said and done, in one form or another, there is some kind of measurement for customer happiness or customer satisfaction. We call it NPS or something else. It's a choice. But there is some form of measurement of customer happiness. In your experience, how you have handled this NPS measurement, or maybe improvement per se?
So one thing we have seen is you should not measure NPS very often, because you're asking customer to do some work and he should not be asked to do some work very often. Second thing, as Chandra has already mentioned, that be consistent with your definition. So you're comparing NPS from 6 months back, and that time 9, 10 for promoter and now 8, 9, 10, and you are happy that NPS has improved, but actually it may have not. So be mindful of the definition of NPS you're going to use.
So I think what I've seen is mostly when people are happy, that's when they give the feedback, right? So NPS is more reflective towards how many people, unhappy people you have. But if you are collecting NPS using various methods, so it's not just if somebody has come to you on email, you respond the person and collect on email. You should be able to send a WhatsApp, SMS, email, phone call, etc. So if you expand the kind of channels on which you are collecting NPS, and also engage customers. So if your engagement is better, what I've observed is the number of feedback that you get for NPS is always higher. So we have small communities. For example, we try to build communities of these customers, and when good thing happens, they try to circulate it. Otherwise, what happens is whenever there is a problem, that's when we come on the social media or try to say, okay, fine, I'll give you 0, I'll give you 1, etc. So engagement is key for getting better NPS scores, or more NPS, let me say more number of feedback.
True. That's what, time has run out, and so we have to close it. Any questions you have? Any questions, any suggestions, whatever? Great.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's working. So these use cases that you talked about, are they mostly coming from business? Is it business driven, or is it more IT driven, where IT team is suggesting business that these are the use cases you should be implementing? How do you make the priority choices? Any one of you can take the question.
So in our company, it is a mix of both. So good ideas can come from anywhere. So the data science team can recommend it, or the product team can recommend it, or the business team can recommend it. If it makes sense to the end user experience, we will take it up.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Just a simple one. Has there been any where in your experience you might have seen that when the data science finally project out that this would be good for the customer experience and it backfires? Because the understanding of the data means how the model gets trained is, and how the customer experience we are trying to measure it off. It is very time dependent, correct? For a set of players, primarily in the gaming side, in the gamifications also, what we see is that, okay, from this period to this period, the customer behaviors and the way they interact with the game is little different. And when looking at the time slot after 6 o'clock, since the demographic change is there, so the model sometimes tend to learn these biasness. Based upon that, we get to an output and it might get backfired. Has it ever happened to in your case?
So it happens all the time, right? So when the model is learning, that time it may perform worse than the default. I think that is not the challenge if you have the right frameworks in place. So like you don't deploy it to all the users so that you have no way to measure. So you deploy it in an iterative manner. So you deploy it in 10%, 20% based on the success, or you revise, right? I think one thing to remember is what Saurav said, that while you are A/B testing, you have to be very careful while measuring. So suppose you are A/B testing on odd even, right? So you have run a test previously, now you are again running a test. The previous test may have already created a bias in the data set. So the odd group may already be better than the even group, like even user IDs. Suppose you do key odd will see this, odd user IDs will see A, and even will say B. Now because of the previous experiment, A is already higher. Now in the next test experiment, you see that A are higher than B, although because of the experiment, B may have more uplift, right? Because there is already a bias. So suppose The A group is already spending 25 minutes per day on your game, while B group is spending 20 minutes, and it reached from 20 to 22 and 25 to 26. You are still comparing 22 to 26. So you have to be mindful that what is the prior, right? So the groups are balanced, so you have to randomize previously, I mean before doing the AB. Like ML performing worse than the default, in the initial stages it happens a lot of times.
I'll add something to it. So one of my boss always used to tell me कि data का बेटा मत किया कर तू, correct? And the meaning is, though data may say something to you, right? But I think our intuition works always better. So it's not that we have to ignore data, but data should also support us, or we are able to support what data is telling us. As long as that happens, I think you'll have a better business, right? We are not here to do data science. All of us are here to make money, right? Generate revenue, top line, bottom line. And that only happens once business is connected, once data is connected, and we use our day-to-day intuition in what the results are. Sometimes you have so much of bias that data will just throw you off the course.
Yeah, I'll add to it, like, no data is better than wrong data.
I would like to add one more incident. Of course, others talked about that in initial phases when we are trying to learn the user behavior, or maybe for particular objective, then this can go wrong. But the answer to this is A/B testing, or maybe you can test it thoroughly, or maybe you can run your model frequently. I mean, train every time. So maybe 7 days frequency, or maybe 15 days frequency, or maybe you can slot it. Slot it means what kind of user behavior, do customer segmentation, and run different models. That could be one mitigating strategy. I had one experience where I was working with telecom company at that point in time, and there was a consultant from Accenture, London office, and she was visiting us, and she told very strange thing. She told that, hey Chandra, we had developed an amazing churn model. Churn means customer churn. Amazing churn model. And then outcome was amazing. Everything was perfect. But when we put into production, it was able to predict. But churn reduction did not happen. I mean, they were expecting that we put the model into production, and then we will start actioning on those outcomes, and then whatever churn 12% was there, now it will reduce to 10%. There should be some objective behind the model. But it was not happening. So just I am trying to corroborate what you said, that yes, it happens. And why it was happening was actually the customers it were trying to capture, or it was trained on, was involuntary. Voluntary. Voluntary means I am pissed off your service, right? And whatever you do, give me 50,000 rupees or 50,000 bucks, but I'm not buying your service again. So even if I am, say, assume your call drop is too high here, assume you are a user of Airtel, and you are in a business meeting, and every time your call drops frequently, whatever you do, you give me 200 rupees, 5,000 rupees, pay 5,000 off, does not matter. Eventually, you are so much unsatisfied that you won't even buy our service, even if whatever offer I give you. So model might predict that, hey, this guy will be a churner, contact him. But then I can predict, but eventually you are not going to stop, right? So these are different facets of model development, but idea is how you mitigate, how you test it. So this could be one of the failure cases, but then you have to, next step is how you can prune it, how you can develop it. That's what I talked about, recommendation engine. Somebody already developed recommendation engine before you in the system. Now you are a new guy in the system, right? Somebody, you came in the system and you are now somebody, your boss wants that what you have done. So you will say, okay, I have built new recommendation engine, but is it better? How you are going to make it better? Somebody already has built a recommendation engine and it's working. How you are going to improve it? So test it, then rebuild it. Check whether it's faltering, whether it's failing, how it's failing, analyze it, root go into root cause and then try to improve it. So that could be, that's what experience is.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.